Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is Classic Burn for Modern. So there are a few changes that are coming to the channel now. I'm going to be probably moving the Modern deck techs from Modern Monday to probably Modern Tuesday. So moving them from Monday to Tuesday to try and stretch out my schedule a little bit. I'm still going to do 2 deck techs a week, obviously. So Modern for today, and of course probably Standard for Thursday. I got another video dropping on Wednesday, which is going to be awesome for us. But also I'm going to be trying to slow down my speech because I've had several comments on the last deck tech being like, "You talk too fast," and I'm going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to try and slow down a little bit for you guys. That way it's a little bit more comprehensible and you can understand it. So moving on to the deck itself, this is Classic Burn, which is basically a really simple way of saying this is just a straight up burn deck with a lot of really good value creatures that take advantage of the burn deck strategy, which is of course dealing damage to our opponent's face or dealing damage to our opponent's creatures. But of course, before I get into it, make sure to like the video if you liked it and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out a lot, really helps us keep the content flowing and the channel growing, of course. But without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. We have 2 Grim Lavamancer at the 1 mana slot. This is one of the best burn spells or burn creatures in the entire Modern format. It is a 1 mana 1/1 human wizard. You can pay 1 red and tap and exile 2 cards from your graveyard, not your opponent's, which if it was your opponent's, it would be amazing. Grim Lavamancer deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So very good at being able to either ping down an opponent's creature or just ping our opponent for 2 points of damage in the mid to late game where they're kind of out of cards and they're just kind of top decking. And this is where you want to bring in Grim Lavamancer and just kind of get them down until they're dead. Next up here to a more classic burn creature here, we have 4 Monastery Swiftspirit. This is a 1 red mana 1/2 human monk with haste and prowess. And prowess is one of the best features on this card here. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So think about all the 1 mana burn spells we have in the format, like Lightning Bolt, for example. Turn 1, have a Monastery Swiftspirit hit for 1. Turn 2, swing in for Monastery Swiftspirit, cast Lightning Bolt, turn Monastery Swiftspirit into a 2/3. That's awesome. The ability to have Monastery Swiftspirit kind of grow and shrink depending on how you want to cast your spells in your turn is really, really cool, and does mean that Monastery Swiftspirit can actually kind of go above and beyond the Call of Duty against particular creatures like Tarmogoyfs, things like that, which is really, really awesome. Moving on to some lockdown creatures here, we have 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel. This is a 2 mana 2/2 enchantment creature spirit. This came from Journey into Nyx, the Theros block here. Whenever a player casts a spell with a converted mana cost 3 or less, Eidolon of the Great Revel deals 2 damage to that player. So keep in mind that's going to be most of our spells, if not all of our spells in the deck. I think it actually is all of our spells in the deck, but that doesn't matter because Eidolon the Great Revel is about tempoing our opponent into oblivion. So dealing 2 damage to your opponent while they're trying to kind of come back from having damage dealt to them already with their low to the ground spells like Fatal Push, Path to Exile, things like that, against a Monastery Swiftspirit or even the Eidolon of the Great Revel. It's going to cost them 2 points of life just to do that. My favorite play is basically just play Eidolon of the Great Revel and then have our opponent try and cast a Path to Exile on it. They still take the 2 damage and we get a land out of it. That's just sweet. And moving on to the last 3 creatures in the deck here, we have 3 Young Pyromancer. This is a 2 mana 2/1 human shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. So this is a very good card for us, as it does mean that all of our low to ground spells will create a lot of 1/1s on the battlefield. So if our opponent does not remove Young Pyromancer quickly enough, it does mean that we're going to have a wide board state being able to swing out quickly. I do think there is quite a bit of debate whether or not Young Pyromancer does deserve a spot into a burn deck. I do think it's fast enough though to be still amazing. But that is it for creatures. We'll only have 13 in total, so no big bombs as far as creatures in the deck. What we're going to be relying on mostly will be our burn spells. So let's move on to that. We have first up Faithless Looting. This is not a burn spell but a draw spell. This is a 1 mana sorcery, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. This is great for us in the mid to late game where we're drawing a lot of land and we don't need land. We really only need 4 land for the entire game. So having a Faithless Looting in hand can help us get rid of some lands and get into some more spells. It also has flashback for 3 mana, which means we can cast this card from our graveyard, then exile it. So we actually get 2 Faithless Lootings for 1 card. And we have a 4 of in here, which means we're going to be seeing it quite often. Next up for us, we have 4 Lava Spike. This is a 1 red mana sorcery arcane. Lava Spike deals 3 damage to target player. So it does damage directly to an opponent's face, which I'm not necessarily a big fan fan of. We do have Lightning Bolt, which deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and I really like that a lot more. But Lava Spike is still very, very good and needs to be a 4 of in this inclusion in a burn deck because it does hit our opponent for 3, which is awesome. Moving up to the classic card here, we have 4 Lightning Bolt, a 1 red mana instant. Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So very simple, very straightforward. You know, an alpha card, and it's going to be in every burn deck ever for the end of time, until the end of time. Again, very, very good with a Monastery Swiftspear on turn 2, having 2 mana out with a Monastery Swiftspear attacking in, pinging our opponent for 3 in the face, turning our Monastery Swiftspear into a 2/3, and getting an additional 2 points, doing 5 damage in just 1 turn, which is awesome. Moving on to some more like utility burn here, we have 2 Searing Blaze. This is a 2 red mana instant. Searing Blaze deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to target creature that player controls. It also has landfall, which is the real key here. If you had a land into the battlefield under your control this turn, Searing Blaze deals 3 damage to that player and 3 damage to that creature instead. So that does mean that we're dealing 3 damage to a creature and 3 damage to a player for just 2 mana and just playing a land. That's awesome. Very, very good on the curve. It is a little bit slower because it does mean we're basically playing this as a sorcery and not on our opponent's turn. However, if we do get Path to Exiled, we can use a Searing Blaze in response because it does have a land coming into the battlefield on that turn. Moving up here for some more value here, we have 2 Skullcrack. This is a 2 mana instant. Players can't gain life this turn, damage can't be prevented this turn, and Skullcrack deals 3 damage to target players. So it's kind of like Lava Spike in that it does direct damage to an opponent and it doesn't have the ability to hit a creature, which is fine. It also has an amazing ability here to like lock down an opponent. So if they have some life gain, like a Scavenging Ooze or something like that, where they're kind of trying to gain some life that turn, Skullcrack is going to use this as an ability to kind of shut down their ability to gain life this turn and make sure we can kind of burn their life total down to the ground. Moving up to the 3-drop slot, we have some awesome cards here. We have 4 Molten Rain. Because there are a lot of like 3-color decks now, thanks to Bloodbraid Elf, like Jund for example, Molten Rain here is amazing for us. This is a 3 mana sorcery, destroy target land. If that land was a non-basic land, Molten Rain deals 2 damage to that land's controller. So this is going to basically be like punishing players, like Jund players as well as the Eldrazi players, things like that, where you want to be able to kill the non-basic land and have the ability to still do damage to an opponent's life total. Molten Rain is here for that, and it's amazing. Also, if they're skimping on land, if they're low on land, and if we went first, then Molten Rain is actually kind of a really weird way to slow down our opponent a great deal, especially if they're an Eldrazi player or if they're a Tron player. They really need those Tron lands on the battlefield. Molten Rain deals with them and deals 2 damage to their face, which is great. Moving on here to our last burn spell in the deck, we have 4 Rift Bolt. This is a 3 mana sorcery. Rift Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature or player. It has Suspend for 1, which is what we really want to cast for it. We don't want to cast 3 mana for this. It's a 1 red mana. Rather than cast this card from your hand, you may pay 1 red mana and exile it with a time counter on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, cast it without paying its mana cost. So this is basically like a turn 1, you pay red mana, get a Rift Bolt out, and it's kind of suspended, and then your next upkeep, you get to cast a spell for free, which is awesome. So having to wait a single turn for a Rift Bolt is kind of annoying because it does mean our opponent sees it coming, and if they're a control deck, they can like counter it. But besides that, I think on a turn 1 to a turn 2 Rift Bolt to the face usually means we're either going to kill a creature or we're going to burn our opponent's face a little bit. So that is it for all the spells in the deck. Let's move on to the 4 artifacts I actually put in here. This is 4 Shrine of Burning Rage. This is an awesome card for us. It's a 2 mana artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep or whenever you cast a red spell, put a charge counter on Shrine of Burning Rage. You may pay 3, tap it, and sacrifice it. Shrine of Burning Rage deals damage equal to the number of charge counters on it to target creature or player. So this is really good for us because if we get this out on turn 2, it does mean we can go into Lightning Bolts, Rift Bolts, you know, Searing Blaze, all that kind of stuff. Get a lot of counters on the Shrine of Burning Rage, as well as just kind of like passing turns. This becomes a monster as well. It can kind of get, you know, 6, 7, 8, even 9 points or counters on top of it. Paying 3 and sacrificing it does 9 damage to an opponent's face or to an opponent's creature. That's awesome. That's very, very good. This is basically a ticking time bomb on your side of the field, and if our opponent doesn't have an answer to it, then they're likely going to die to it. But that is everything besides lands. Let's go over lands really quick. We have 4 Ravenous Ruins. This is a new card from the actual standard that just got banned, which is crazy. This is a desert. You can add 1 mana that's colorless to your mana pool, and you can pay 1 and add 1 red mana to your mana pool. You can also pay 4 and tap it, sacrifice the desert, which is itself, and Ravenous Ruins deals 2 damage to each opponent. So you could have the ability to put in Sun-Scorched Desert into the deck list here. I did not, because it is just a colorless desert, but it does 1 point of damage to our opponent as well. I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the deck, but I do think Ravenous Ruins is quite a good card, especially in the mid to late game where you're kind of out of burn spells and you still need to burn our opponent for 1 or 2 points of damage. You got Ravenous Ruins here, and if once you get to 5 mana, you can do that. And lastly, we have a simple 15 mountain, and that is going to do it for the lands there. There's only 19 in total. We only need like 3 to 4 to make the entire deck work, and that's fantastic. But what can we do in game? game 2. Let's go to the sideboard here really quickly. Against artifacts here we have Smelt. This is a 1 red mana instant, destroy target artifact. Very simple and straightforward, and only 3 of in the deck. And it's very, very cheap. It's only like 0.9 tickets, which is great too. Next up here we have 1 Pyroclasm. This is here for the kind of one-off like token strategies in the format in Modern. This is a 2 mana sorcery. Deals 2 damage to each creature. Very nice. And just kind of, again, just a 1 of in the deck. We don't want it to necessarily kill our side of the field either. Next up here for us, we have 2 Ratchet Bomb. This is great to be able to get rid of like a ley line or something like that. The opponent is kind of not expecting to see a Ratchet Bomb 2. It's a 2 mana artifact. You can tap it, put a charge counter on Ratchet Bomb, and you can tap it or sacrifice it. Destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Ratchet Bomb. So ratchet this up to 4 or 5, kill a ley line of the Void, or kill a ley line of Sanctity. Either way, Ratchet Bomb is here to help kill either ley lines or early game 2 converted mana cost creatures like Tarmogoyf, things like that. Next up for some good old-fashioned lockdown, we have 2 Blood Moon. This is a 3 mana enchantment. Non-basic lands are mountains. So again, if our opponent is playing a lot of like tri-colored lands or dual lands or sack lands, fetch lands, all that kind of land stuff, we just play Blood Moon and they're all mountains, and we do slow them down considerably. I know every time I do run into a Jund list, I normally put in Blood Moons into the main board because it's just great at being able to lock down their entire board, because most of their cards that have red in them usually is going to be like a Lightning Bolt. That's going to be the only card they can kind of cast. Everything else is going to be a green and red and stuff like that. So Blood Moon is really good at being able to just lock them down completely. Moving on to a Sun here, we have Blood Sun. This is a card to lock down Tron, which is awesome. This is a 3 mana enchantment. When Blood Sun enters the battlefield, draw a card, so that's great for us. And all lands lose all abilities except mana abilities. So anything as far as like abilities that like give them stuff when they reach certain requirements, like Tron lands, Blood Sun's going to come in and just lock them down and make them just tap regardless, which slows them down considerably. I love this card. It's very situational, and that's why it's only a 1 of in the sideboard, but it's a super fun card, and I do recommend trying it out if you guys have it. Next up for us, we have some nice land destruction here. We actually have Pyroclasm. This is a 3 mana 3/F sorcery. Destroy target plains or island. Pyroclasm deals 3 damage to that land's controller. So if our opponent is playing like a weird Esper list or like a blue-white control or something like that, we can actually destroy a land, which is great, and also deal 3 damage to their face. So we're still kind of progressing our points of damage to our opponent, while also kind of slowing them down on land drops. So if you know anything about control, control needs its lands to be in the battlefield. So having a Pyroclasm come in and lock down their actual like land base is ridiculous. And the last 3 cards in the sideboard here are a 3 of Peak Eruption. This is a 3 mana sorcery. Destroy target mountain. Peak Eruption deals 3 damage to that land's controllers. Again, if we're up against another burn deck, or if we're up against maybe like another Jund list, or we have a Blood Moon out, we can use Peak Eruption to actually just start destroying their lands and doing 3 damage to their face, which is great. That Blood Moon Peak Eruption combo is just funny to me, and I really love seeing it when it comes to fruition. But that is the full 75, folks. Let's go to the layout here. On MTG Traders, it's coming to about 120 tickets, which isn't too bad, and in paper, it's coming to a similar 127 tickets, which is crazy. Normally, the paper to like ticket ratio is a little bit higher in paper, but here it's like only $7 higher, which is crazy to me. Your most expensive cards being Eidolon of the Great Revel and Blood Moon in the sideboard. Everything else is like 1 or 2 tickets, and Molten Rain is probably like 3 to 4 tickets. Not too much. But yeah, that's classic burn. Love it a lot. Turn 1, we go for a Monastery Swiftspear. Turn 2, go for an Eidolon, or go for a Lightning Bolt into a Swiftspear. Turn 3, we go for a Faithless Looting, either getting some more land, or going for a Shrine of the Burning Rage, and just kind of burn our opponent until they do not have any life left in the game. Very simple, very straightforward, very fast, and I loved playing it in testing. But that is going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you liked it. Hope you really like this deck here. Go have some fun with it if you want to. It's very cheap as far as a modern deck goes, kind of like a budget deck here. You can always make this deck a lot more expensive by putting fetch lands and stuff like that into the main board for the land drops, as they do 2 things, which is thinning your deck as well as giving you mana, which is great. But I did want to keep this kind of on the low key, a little bit on the cheaper side, and that's what we got here. But that's going to do for the video today, guys. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.